Alright, so I'm going to do a video talking about something that I normally don't usually do videos on, but um, it was interesting, and I know a lot of you guys actually own like Xboxes and things like that, and I found it interesting that Phil Spencer actually like made that statement about the Xbox brand, basically, and that he was basically saying that Xbox is basically losing the console wars. And I just want to kind of interject my thoughts into that. Even though I'm not an Xbox console owner, I can still see the appeal of owning an Xbox. So I'm just going to talk about it today. If you guys like this kind of video, leave a like, comment down below, subscribe, all that good stuff. I'm going to start doing more videos like this if I think I have something that I can actually add to the conversation. So basically, to run it down, he basically just says, we're not in the business of out constantly Sony or Nintendo. There isn't really a good situation for us. And then he goes on to say, we all had cartridges at one time, and this, and every generation was a clean slate, and then we could switch the whole console share. Spencer said, that's just not in a world that's just not the world we live in today. There's there's no world where Starfield is 11 out of 10 and people are selling their PS5s. That's just not going to happen. So basically, what he's saying is he doesn't see Microsoft or Xbox ever outselling Sony or Nintendo at this point. Now, that could have something to do with the blockage of that Activision Blizzard deal that was going on. Apparently, it got blocked, but that doesn't mean they're not going to keep trying to acquire Activision Blizzard. I think it'll eventually go through, but the reason it was blocked, from my understanding, was basically in like, I think it was like the CEA or something like that blocked it, and they were saying that in like 5 to 10 years, if cloud gaming becomes more mainstream and like more accessible, and everybody starts doing it, that basically they're afraid that Microsoft will have a sort of monopoly on that, which is kind of true in a sense because Game Pass, I don't even own an Xbox, but I already know Game Pass is a hell of a deal for what all you're getting. Compare, well, I don't even want to say compared to Nintendo because like that's like comparing like a $5 bill to like a $50 bill, like, but comparing it from like from Game Pass to like Sony, at least Sony is trying to get there with offering like classic titles with the essentials and the whatever the other tiers are with PlayStation Plus. But I still think Microsoft's is better. You get more bang for your buck. And while I think acquiring stuff like Bethesda was huge for them, but it didn't like give them a leg up on the competition. But I do think if this deal would have went through, they definitely would have had a leg up on Sony and especially Nintendo. Like, I don't even want to add Nintendo into the mix because Nintendo always does their own freaking thing. They don't really care about Sony or Microsoft. They just do whatever the hell they want. They don't really give a crap. That's why the Switch is so archaic and old tech. And that's why games don't run as well as they do on PS5s and Xboxes. And that's why people would rather emulate Switch than play it on real hardware. That's not me because I don't want to emulate Switch stuff. Well, one, because I can't rip my own cartridges, And two, I just have no desire to play Switch on my computer. Would it be better? Yes, but that's just not me. But anyway, I'm kind of getting off track here, talking about how Nintendo basically sucks, and they need to like step up their game. But I see their point with owning Activision Blizzard, because that would mean you would own things like Call of Duty and um like Elder Scrolls, stuff like that. I'm sure I'm forgetting other big franchises that Activision and Blizzard have, but um, if Microsoft owned that, and yes, they already said like if this deal went through, they would give Sony like a 10-year deal, but Sony rejected it. So Sony's kind of being bullheaded about that, but it doesn't matter now that it got blocked. But I'm just saying, like, if it didn't, like, Sony's basically shooting themselves in the foot. No pun intended with Call of Duty, but whatever. Um, I see why the industry is kind of like, wait a minute, if cloud gaming is the way of the future, and they do this deal, and they have this big acquisition of all this stuff, because Call of Duty is immensely popular. I don't have to tell you guys that. You guys know that. And I know that because a lot of you guys want me to play Call of Duty games and stream them. And I may eventually do that at some point. But anyway, it's an immensely popular thing. So if they get that acquisition plus all the Blizzard stuff, that's a huge grab for Microsoft, because that would be, once that exclusivity deal would be up with Sony, if they would have taken it, then Call of Duty would be exclusively on Xbox platforms and PC, and they would no longer be on the PlayStation 5 or PlayStation 4 or whatever, or PlayStation 6 or whatever future consoles. They would no longer be on there. So, and I'm not saying Sony relies on Call of Duty sales a lot, but they don't really have their own shooter. They don't have a Call of Duty. People say they kind of did with Killzone, but I don't ever remember hearing people rave about how cool Killzone was compared to Call of Duty. I never played either, so I don't know for sure. But I mean that's like the best thing they had, but they haven't really touched it. So I see why the industry is kind of looking at it like that kind of thing. I know I kind of went off on a tangent, and what does that have to do with Phil Spencer's statement? Well, don't you guys kind of think it's kind of funny that he made this statement after that deal got blocked? Because you got to think, he's a business guy. It's all business. He was probably thinking, okay, if this deal goes through, this is going to be huge for us. This is going to bump up Xbox's brand. But since it didn't, he's got to be on the reality side of things now. Like, Xbox is the third, like, best, like third place in the console wars, I think. They might be second now, but he mentioned like being basically last place. If you go more in depth, I'll leave links to a couple articles, or you can just Google Phil Spencer and read articles about what all he said. I'm not gonna like deep dive into what all he said, but the fact that he was basically willing to say and talk about Xbox's shortcomings, and that they're not really a contender really yet, and they're not going to dethrone Sony or Nintendo. That speaks volumes for what he thinks currently of the Xbox brand, which he's basically saying we need to work on it more, which I kind of agree with. Like, Xbox needs more exclusives, I think, to get them more of a footing in the console wars. I hate saying like console wars because that seems like a 90s trope. I don't even think the companies really like throw shots at each other as much as they did back in the 90s with like Sega, with like the Nintendo stuff and the Genesis does that stuff. It's it's not really a console war thing anymore. It's just who has the better exclusives, I think. And Sony and Nintendo definitely have better exclusives. And I would say, and this isn't me being a Nintendo fanboy, but Nintendo definitely has an upper hand on even both Sony and Microsoft because they have Mario, they have Zelda, they have those are basically it, Mario and Zelda. Like those are one of the two biggest things they have. And with Tears of the Kingdom coming out next week, I believe, I'm pretty sure I'm right. That's gonna be huge for Nintendo. I'm I'm assuming. And I'm sure Microsoft is, and Sony to a lesser extent, but I'm sure they're looking at that like, man, look what Nintendo can do even with this aging piece of technology they're using with the Switch. That's why it's so wildly successful, because they have exclusives to back it up, like Mario and Zelda titles. And they have some other stuff sprinkled in, like Mario and Rabbids and like Kirby, and stuff like that. But Mario and Zelda is where it's at for them. But with Sony, it's like you have God of War, you have Spider Man. Um, Pretty sure that's really it. It's that I can think of off the top of my head. It's like Spider Man and like God of War. That's like strictly like Sony exclusive. Maybe like um, Final Fantasy to an extent, because they have like a console exclusive like window or something. So maybe stuff like that. Microsoft needs to get in on that, the console exclusivity thing, because if they don't, it's gonna be hard for them to beat out Sony and Nintendo. Which at the end of the day, I'm pretty sure that's what they all want to do. They all want to be the best they can be. But just hearing Phil Spencer say like, "Oh, my Xbox brand isn't gonna ever outsell Nintendo and Sony at this point. No one's gonna sell their PS5s to go buy a Xbox Series console." That speaks volumes for what he's basically saying. Like, we need to work on our brand, our Xbox brand. And the other problem that I just thought of before I end this video, that I just thought of with Microsoft and Xbox, is they really don't have a footing in Japan. As far as I know, that the Xbox does not do well over in Japan, but the PS5 and Nintendo Switch do well in Japan because they're Japanese based company. It's going to be hard for Microsoft to make a name for themselves over there because it's an American made company and they don't really have a footing over there. And I'm sure a lot of business comes from Japan when it comes to Nintendo and Sony. I almost said Microsoft. Nintendo and Microsoft. Or Nintendo and Sony, I mean. And Microsoft knows that, and they're probably trying to work on that as well to get more of a footing in Japan. That's something I literally just thought of. I was like, wait a minute, Japan is a big market for Sony and Nintendo. So that's another thing too, is that Microsoft also needs to kind of get into the international market more, meaning Japan. Sure, Europe, they have good sales in Europe, but or at least decent sales in Europe. But Japan, I think, if they could get a good footing in there, they could be more of a contender. But I think the main thing they need to work on is exclusives. Because honestly, that's why I've never bought an Xbox. There's only like one or two games I thought about buying an Xbox for. Killer Instinct and the new Perfect Dark that's coming out. That's it. Other than that, and Killer Instinct got ported to Steam, so like I don't need an Xbox for that. So there's that, and I'm pretty sure like Perfect Dark's gonna have a Windows port, so I don't really need an Xbox. But would I ever get one? I mean, yeah, if I saw a reason to, I would. But as of right now, there's no exclusives that are gonna draw me or other people to them. But anyway, I just wanted to talk about this because, like I said, I thought it was pretty interesting that Phil Spencer was kind of being that honest and vocal about Xbox's shortcomings, which is kind of surprising when an exec kind of says, "Hey, we're kind of falling behind here. We're not gonna like ever outsell Sony or Nintendo or try to overtake Sony or Nintendo at this point." But it's just, I don't know, it was just really surprising to hear that. I lost my train of thought there, but because like it's just really surprising to hear Phil Spencer say that and an exec say that. Like imagine if Sony or Nintendo said that about like their consoles. They wouldn't, especially Nintendo. Nintendo won't admit that the Switch is not like it's not a powerhouse or it's not up to snuff like the PS5 or even PS4 Pro. Like the PS4 Pro is better than the Switch. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. I just wanted to do a video talking about this because I thought that was interesting. I thought you guys would be interested in it. And yeah, I just wanted to do a video talking about it. So thanks for watching, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. And shout out to my Patreon supporters. Thank you guys for supporting the channel. It does mean a lot to me. It helps out the channel a lot. And I really appreciate it. I'm waiting for my list to pop up here so I can shout you guys out proper without forgetting anybody. So shout outs go to Matt Y99, Reaper 7734, Tyler Cow, Harry Fernandez, AJ Gadawa, Oliver Frederick, Zool Adfi, It's Me, Charlize, Joe, William Swift, Griff17, Charlie McKeon, Reverse Security, Zoo Hall, Artistic Tonic, Prelab, Just Drew, Ariam Insane, HHG Fan, George McConnell, X Tinctus, Elliot Scott, and Benjamin Tellen. Thank you guys so much for supporting the channel. If you want to support the channel, it's only $1 a month. It would really help out the channel a lot, especially now that I'm looking to get more equipment on the equipment side of things. And my main piece of equipment I want to get now for my channel is a decent gaming laptop. So to make streaming easier, so I can stream stuff like the PS5 and Switch and PS4 games for you guys. Because I know you guys want to see me stream more modern stuff like Call of Duty and stuff. So if you can support me and you have suggestions for a good, reasonably priced laptop that is like up to snuff and that could use an Elgato HD60X, leave it in the comments or just support the channel. That would really help me out because I really want to start doing more content, daily content for you guys, and having a way to have gameplay set over my videos would really help out with having more professionalism and just overall quality improvement in my videos. So I appreciate all the support. If you guys support me It would really help out. But thank you to everybody that currently does. If you decide to, I really do appreciate it. It would really help out a lot. So thank you guys for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Peace out. And who knows? Maybe if I get enough support, I might buy an Xbox too. Who knows? I don't know. Just trying to be funny there, but who knows? See you guys later. Peace out.